That Weird Cook.
Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of the That Weird Cook, Pandering special. Today's episode will focus on the pumpkin spice latte, an iconic source of both profit and mass hysteria. As a one-time pandering bonus for all of you, my dear viewers, I will be making 2 other coffee drinks that are sure to make you urinate with increasing frequency and excitement. We're going to explore both contrasting flavor profiles as well as brewing techniques so I can justify such high levels of pandering to myself. But first, let us answer the question that has kept me up at night for the past week. What the fuck is coffee anyway? And why is it held in such high regard by the bulk of humanity? Coffee beans, as they are commonly known, are really the seeds of some varieties of the Coffea plant, a genus of the Rubiaceae family. Coffea arabica accounts for roughly 60 to 80% of the world's coffee production, whereas Coffea senophora accounts for roughly 20 to 40%. Arabica has a bit of a sweeter taste, whereas senophora has a higher caffeine content. Fun fact, by the 15th century, the thriving port of Venice was engaged in trade with the Ottoman Empire, which subsequently introduced coffee to the rest of Europe. While initially coffee was frowned upon by the Christian authorities as a Muslim drink, people really liked it. And because of this, around 1600, Pope Clement VIII declared coffee a Christian drink for all eternity, which made it okay for the squares to consume. This historical episode reveals that the most effective way to overcome the cosmetic differences between disparate peoples isn't love, nor is it the shared absurdity of being a conscious creature that's aware of its own impending annihilation, but drugs. I mean, getting high together is a much more pleasant way to be than killing each other over perceived differences in food and dress. And you'll be happy to know that by combining caffeine with sugar, what I like to call the corporate candy flip, a select few can now drive Ferraris. All right, let's get on with it, shall we? If you have the opportunity to buy green, aka unroasted coffee, I recommend that you do, because it ultimately just gives you more control over your final product, as in being able to decide when you want freshly roasted coffee. Instead of buying those pre-roasted beans that, despite their colorful and alluring packaging designed to appeal to hipster millennial child grown-ups, you never know how long they've been sitting there, and often the flavors have long since evaporated, much like the chances of building equity for the aforementioned sacrificial generation. I've got 3 types of beans here. One for a light roast, one for a medium roast, and one for a dark roast. Each one brings its own unique blend of olfactory delights that will form the basis for our 3 distinct coffee drinks. To roast your beans, all you need is an oven, a clock, and a pair of ears. Preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, lay your beans out on a sheet pan, and roast them. For the light roast, it will take between 6 to 8 minutes. You'll hear what the internet refers to as the first crack, and then remove them. For the medium roast, it'll take around 10 to 12 minutes, when you'll hear the second crack and immediately remove your beans. The dark roast will stay in the oven a little bit longer past the second crack, but don't wait too long or else they'll burn. Additionally, you'll want to blow some of those loosened hulls off of the beans and then allow them to, quote, gas off for a few days. This is contrary to my initial thinking that the best coffee is the freshest coffee. Apparently, you're supposed to let the beans sit out for a few days in order to achieve maximum goodness. Just look at these babies. That's definitely coffee. For our light roast, we're gonna make a bulletproof style coffee. Basically coffee blended with butter. But we're gonna be making our own butter from scratch, from store-bought cream. And to emphasize the fruity flavors of the light roast, we're also gonna add a green cardamom infused simple syrup. For the cold brew, the preparation is very easy. You just grind your beans until coarse, and if you can't find your grinder, just snap your fingers and wishful thinking will do the rest. Then add 2 cups of sink water, swirl it around until it looks like fermented mud, and then stick it in the fridge for between 12 to 18 hours. Then filter out the grit and voila, you've got your cold brew. For the simple syrup, lightly toast some green cardamom in a dry pan until fragrant. Whoa, I said lightly roast, dummy. Add in a spoonful of sugar, stir to dissolve, and reduce by half. To make the butter, add a few glugs of cream to a food processor and blend. First you'll get whipped cream, then whole lot of nothing, and then, holy shit, it's butter. Squeeze out the buttermilk, drink it down, and set the butter aside. It's literally that easy. To make the drink, heat your cold brew until heated, then add in your simple syrup to taste, as well as a hearty glob of your homemade butter, and blend until homogeneous. There you go. For the pumpkin spice latte, grind your beans in your grinder, heat up your water till around 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and pour it into your French press. Fun fact, a French press used to refer to an unwanted hug from behind, usually from a sweaty employer. If you're still with me, the next step is to make our drizzle. And instead of the typical salted caramel drizzle, I'm gonna be using a toasted honey drizzle. For this, just lightly toast some honey until it darkens by a shade. It'll start to bubble, and once you determine it's good enough, add a splash of water to prevent it from turning into rock candy when it cools. In the same pan, add some milk, a vanilla pod, and some pumpkin spice mix, and simmer on a medium to low heat for about 30 minutes until the milk has been reduced by a little and it's been properly infused with all those aromatic flavors. Then simply strain out the solids and whisk until it's foamy. To assemble, pour in some of your toasted honey solution onto the bottom of your cup. This is meant to be a replacement for the Starbucks sugary syrups that goes in everything over there. Bonus fun fact, that sugary syrup is actually made from the ground up pancreases of diabetics, the consumption of which only creates more diabetics, which in turn increases the production of the syrup. So as you can see, the process is entirely sustainable. Pour your pressed coffee until a third of the way up the cup. Then top it up with your foamy milk mixture. Lastly, pipe some of your pumpkin spice infused whipped cream on top. Sprinkle some more pumpkin spice on top and garnish with a cinnamon stick. This has practical applications that we'll see later. Finally, for the dark roast, we're gonna be making a death by chocolate inspired mocha drink that will release joyous amounts of endorphins. First, grind your dark roast beans until finely ground because we're making an espresso. Now, I looked online for espresso machines, but when I found out what the average cost was, I opted for a more economical, excuse me, sorry, I had a euphemism stuck in my throat. I meant cheap alternative. As far as I know, espresso is just the name that's been given to coffee that's been made by forcing hot water under high pressure through finely ground compacted coffee grinds. So I went out and got myself one of these guys. It's literally just a plastic tube and a rubber stopper that you shove through it. It's only 30 bucks. I guess they must have like 10 of these in those other machines. Anyway, pour your coffee grounds, tamp it down, and then add your hot water. Give it a stir, and then apply some top-down pressure until you've successfully extracted that sweet, sweet black gold. For the chocolate part of the chocolate mocha drink, we're gonna make a thick chocolate paste to act as the chocolate base for our chocolate mocha drink.
Chocolate.
To start, toast a cinnamon stick until fragrant and then get it a little bit charred because that's going to add a nice smokiness to our chocolate paste. Then chop up some high percentage dark chocolate. I can't show you the brand name of this chocolate due to copyright blah blah blah, but I can tell you that it's named after the stuff that comes out of your belly button. Once your cinnamon stick is lightly charred, reverse the order that I did, because if you add the chocolate first, like I did, it'll smoke and you might set off your smoke alarm. Anyway, add the chocolate and milk in some sort of order, and then a small amount of brown sugar and a pinch of salt for depth through contrast. Stir it up, and when it's as thick as your heart desires, remove from the heat and pass through a fine mesh strainer. To assemble, blob your chocolate blob in your cup and then pour your espresso over it. I forgot to stir it around, but I would recommend doing so, as you probably want a homogeneous chocolate experience, not a compartmentalized one. Add some more pumpkin spice cream on top and finish with some grated chocolate shavings. All right, let's try the chocolatey one.
Hear that?
Oh, every element in this drink is adding to the nation's chocolate conversation. All right, up next, we have this butter cardamom coffee. This is the medium roast. This is the shit. It's rich, it's creamy. My palate detects notes of coffee. All right, people, this is it. This is the one we've been waiting for. This is the very reason for this video's existence. The pandering in the pandering special. The highly marketed pumpkin spice latte. That's good. But what does it taste like, you ask? And I will answer you, more caffeinated than usual. There's so much going on in this. There's the vanilla in the vanilla milk. It's foamy. There's the pumpkin spice cream. I drank it through a cinnamon straw, so it tastes like cinnamon. My palate is exploding. It's like if someone were to throw an alarm clock into a room full of sleeping cats. Well, that's it. I hope that by shamelessly pandering to popular tastes, I've both entertained and informed. Talking to you, algorithm, open the gate. And as always, do what you love because nobody cares and it doesn't matter.